What's up, you guys? How you guys doing? It has been a while since I have posted on this channel. This is reading with Really B. Okay, Really B ain't been reading a lot, and so that's why I haven't been putting a lot over here. But a few weeks ago, somebody posted on I saw it on Instagram. Actually, it was the Thais report. Shout out to my man, my boo Thais. Um, and he posted that Hulu was and Oprah Winfrey was bringing Black Cake um to Hulu, and I was like, Black Cake, that sounds familiar. And it was a book. Now I have been struggling for the last few months to find me a really good book that I was excited to talk about, to be honest with you. The last couple of books I read were kind of duds. Now I do have some like biographies and autobiographies that I want to read, but like a good romance or contemporary novel, I just hadn't been able to really find a good one that I really wanted to talk about. So I said, you know what? Let me check out Black Cake, and then I can watch it on Hulu when it comes out on Hulu. So I went to my went to audiobook because I normally listen to books more so than I read these days. And it was already in my library. So this is a book that I had already downloaded. I just never listened to it. So I listened to it. I started listening to it in the airport when I went to Dallas a couple of weeks ago, and then I finished it up. This book is so good. I was so excited about seeing it being brought to life. As I was listening to the book, though, it is so well written. I could visualize all of these things happening. And the book takes you on a whirlwind, and it infuses so many different cultures and so many different traditions, and so much is, and it travels through what? Two continents and an island. Like, it is so much there. And so I'm going to talk about it without, there will be some spoilers because I'm going to talk about it, but I'm not going to tell you guys everything. So if you don't want to know anything about the book, I'm letting you know now that it is a great read. I highly recommend it. Go read it now. But if you want to hear me talk a little bit about it, go ahead and hang on. I'm going to give everybody time to click off. Okay, let's talk about it. So, the book starts off in the 1960s, and it starts off, the main character is Covey. It is an island. The island is never named, but you get the impression that it's Jamaica. If you read about the author, Charmaine Wilkerson, she's from Jamaica, and so it technically is about Jamaica, but they never say it's Jamaica. We start off with Covey, her mom and dad, and immediately we are thrown into history, which I love. But we find out that her dad is actually Japanese, and his family migrated to the island. And her mom is a native of the island. They give you this whole history about the Japanese coming over and how they sort of, came into the community, and how they ended up, a lot of them ended up being shop owners and owning a lot of the businesses, which sound very familiar when you think about the inner city in the 1970s, 1980s, where you had a large like Korean population coming in and having businesses in, mostly black neighborhoods. So it brought that to mind. Covey loved the water, and her best friend Bunny, they were swimmers. Bunny was a distance swimmer. Covey was more of like the relay sprinter, what have you. And you find out, you read about their relationship blossoming. Now, ultimately, Bunny falls in love with Covey. Covey falls in love with Gibbs. Gibbs is a guy who, his family came to the island when they were a little bit older, like high school age, and he's older than them. He was getting ready to go to university, go to London, and they have a relationship and they fall in love, right? Now, in the interim, Covey's mom has left. Covey feels like her mother abandoned her, and her dad is a drunk who has a gambling problem. So whenever there's a gambling problem, then, bills don't get paid, things don't get handled well. Well, ultimately, without getting into all the details, because again, I want you to read the books, I'm not going to tell y'all everything. But without getting into all the details, her dad finds himself in a situation where he is indebted to the island hood by the name of Lil Man, aka Clarence. And in order to pay his debt off, he promises Covey's hand. Gibbs leaves for London to go to university. He wants Covey to come with him. Covey is like, no, I can't leave my dad like that. But I know he'll figure out a way. Like, he's not going to make me marry this guy. Like, he'll figure out a way. And Gibbs is like, okay, girl. Well, if you figure it out, you come and find me in London. Now, London is a huge, I don't know how she was supposed to come and find you, but okay, Gibbs. Well, her dad doesn't figure it out. Now, in the book, because I know they're making they made a show. It's on Hulu. And I believe it's a mini-series. It's like maybe 5 or 6 episodes. I'm not sure how many, but I know it's more than one episode. There's nobody could have told this story well in a 2-hour window. Like, they would have had to leave so much out. And everything is important in the book. I did watch the first episode of the show. And I already see where they sort of left stuff out and had to change stuff. It works for the show because, again, it's so much to put in. But I'm glad I read the book first. So Covey ends up having to go through with this wedding. Well, Clarence drops dead at the funeral. I mean, at the reception. Now, now listen, there's a spoiler, but let me tell you something. You find this out in the first chapter. Because the book starts off at the wedding. And then we flash back. So I ain't telling you nothing you won't find out in the first couple of chapters of the book, okay? And that is where the adventure really begins, right? Covey then has to, she got to get off the island because they think she did it. So I ain't going to give y'all all of those details. But she gets off the island, okay? And she gets to London. Now, she doesn't immediately look for Gibbs. And in the book, there's a reason in the book. I'm not going to tell y'all what the reason is because, again, I want y'all to go read the book. But I'm going to tell y'all enough to get the story, okay? But in the movie, or in the TV show, I should say, it looks like, the first episode ends with her getting to London. So I don't know how they explain why she didn't immediately go look for Gibbs. But she doesn't immediately go, well, she actually did, but she couldn't find him. Anyway, yeah. Now, I want you to understand that this book is a series of mysteries to be solved. So the first mystery that we want to solve is her mom. Her mom left. She said she was coming back. She never did. What happened to her mama? The second mystery is what happened to Little Man? Did Covey do it? Did Bunny do it? Did Pearl do it? Pearl is the housekeeper. Pearl thought about it. In the book, Pearl thought long and hard about it because Pearl was making her wedding cake, which is the what? Black cake. So throughout the book, they weave in the symbolism and the importance of black cake to tradition, to island culture. They talk about how it came from the black pudding that the Europeans brought over when they colonized. And so they talk about the origins. They talk about the origins of black cake. Now, Covey is telling Eleanor, I'm sorry, see now I'm about to confuse y'all. Covey becomes Eleanor. And this story is being told by Eleanor to her children who never knew her origin, who never knew her history. They knew she came from the islands. She told them she was an orphan and she never had any family. So there was never any reason to explain about mama or daddy or Little Man or anything. She went from London and she found herself in California with her husband. And they end up having 2 children. And so she is telling them this story. And so we see the story in a series of flashbacks. And then, of course, they intertwine where she is today, what's going on with her son, what's going on with her daughter, and their relationship. Of course, by the end of the book, she has told the whole story. She has explained all of the details of what happened in the island, her dad. We even flash back and find out what happened to her dad after she left the island and what happened after she left the island. Little Man's family blamed her dad. And of course, she was a suspect in the unaliving, of Little Man. Her son, once she becomes Eleanor, she ends up marrying an attorney. They live a decent life out in California. Her son becomes a PhD. He studies like a marine life. He's a doctorate of marine biology, I guess. And her daughter, Benny's trying to find herself. Benny got a lot going on. In the book, she drops out of college. She goes to art school. She wants to do culinary art. All of these different things. Okay. But what we also find out in her telling her story to her two children is that there's a third child. That her kids never know that they have another sibling. And so then she tells the story about this third child and how this child came to be and why this child didn't grow up with the rest of the family. You guys, this book, and again, I'm telling y'all stuff, but I'm not, trust me when I tell you, I'm not telling you half of the book. And I don't want, this is not a play-by-play review. I'm not doing a chapter-by-chapter review. But what I am doing is I'm going to review the mini-series, and I will compare it. Like I said, I watched episode 1, and I'll do a review of episode 1. I'm going to watch them one episode at a time. So far, I am enjoying I enjoyed the first episode, and had I not read the book, I still would enjoy the first episode. However, I think that some of what they left out in the first episode, as far as Covey having to marry Little Man, I think the book goes into a lot more detail that you really understand that her dad's back was really truly against the wall. And I don't think in the book they almost alluded to the fact that he felt like she needed a husband. So it's he sort of justified it. But in the book, it really truly was, if I don't do this, they gonna kill me. And they probably gonna take you anyway. Kind of thing. Does she find Gibbs? I already said that part. Like I said, the third child, the who, the what, the when, the where. How does her name go from Covey to Eleanor? Who is Eleanor? What happened to Eleanor? Right? All of these are questions that are answered. And in the book, I love the way they did it, because you go through the whole book, right? And as I was getting closer to the end, I was like, well, they never explained this and they never explained that. And then when you get to the end of the book, like the last section of the book, they say, here are all the answers. Like, here's what we didn't tell you. Or what didn't come out in the book. And so they go through all the things that you did that we never really got a resolve to. But rest assured, you walk away complete. There are no questions unanswered. Like, you don't walk away from the book not knowing what happened to anybody. You know what happened to everybody that was in that book. Of any importance, you find out. Again, this is a 10 out of 10 for me. And at this point, I'm recommending that you read the book, and then you go on over to Hulu and you catch the miniseries. Again, I will be talking about it on both channels, this channel and my main channel, which is Really Be TV. If you find me on one side and don't know the other, but I'll be talking about the miniseries on both channels. So again, highly recommend the book. Please go. You can listen to it. The person who does the narration on audiobook does an excellent job, because I know sometimes these audiobooks ain't that great either. But she does an excellent job on audiobook. So I highly recommend it. Go check it out. Let me know what you guys think. Peace.